Hello, everybody. My name's Jack Howard. I'm here with the chief film critic at The Independent, Clarice Lockery.
Hello.
I'm here with Joe Akimwin, who's 1/3 of the Cyber Nerds.
What's good?
And this is a bonus episode of the Screen Test. This is a bit different to what we usually do, but we're going to talk about the long-awaited arrival of Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. So let's just jump into it. Joe, you're a massive fan of the DC world and comics in general. Were you campaigning for this release? Are you satisfied by it? How do you feel?
Yeah, massive fan of it. I really enjoyed the Snyder Cut. And yeah, we was campaigning for it on our channel. I feel like ever since Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and like everything happened with Justice League.
I love that title. I love that people are starting to call it that.
we was on it hard because I feel like I've always been a big fan of Man of Steel and just the way Zack Snyder makes his films, and like just knowing that the whole movie was out there somewhere and that we could possibly get a version, I felt like it was just important to just keep talking about. And I actually rate DC for coming out and just letting him do it. Obviously, being a pandemic and all this other stuff played a part, but I just felt like this is justice, and it's mad because the fans rarely ever win like this, and I feel like it's a massive win for that. And this movie just had to be better than Justice League, and I feel like it's way better than the theatrical cut.
I almost feel like it's not worth comparing the two. It's like,
yeah,
that's not the same film.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It just shows you how important it is for a director to take charge of their own movie and what difference a voice can make.
Yeah, it's actually mad. It's actually mad
because it's the same plot, but it's a completely different film.
Yeah, it's mad because just the characterizations of the characters, and that was one of the things for me that about the 2017 Justice League that really pissed me off. Like, was they just like messed up Batman? Like Batman he's just not Batman in the movie. Like they try to make him funny and do all this other weird stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. And he already looks... I mean, I'm not a big fan of how Zack Snyder has designed this Batman. I think they've gone backwards to sort of a chunkier... like, can't move his neck again. And he's in the daytime a lot, which I think, aesthetically just looks a bit strange. But I agree, like, the Justice League version of it was, 10 times worse than that. Clarice, how do you feel about Snyder in general, the Snyder Cut campaign, and now how do you feel now that you've finally seen all 4 hours of it?
I think, from my perspective as a film critic, what sort of frustrates me a little bit about the Snyder Cut is that I feel like we haven't had the conversations that we really needed to have after the whole situation with the theatrical cut of Justice League, because that was such an opportunity to really talk about the treatment of creatives by studios, because what happened to Zack Snyder was just awful. Like, he had this horrific personal tragedy and then was not given the room to process that grief and to really channel it into his work because the studio had hired somebody that they had immediately lost faith in.
Yeah, before they even started shooting, they were worried about what was going on.
Why hire him? If you didn't think he was the right guy for the job, they should have gotten a different director off the bat. And I think all those conversations have been lost a little bit because Warner Brothers have been given a bit of an out because they can just release this movie and it's kind of like a half-assed apology to Zack Snyder, and instead of like really going, okay, right, we need to look internally about how we're making our movies. They've just gone, oh, well, you got your Snyder Cut, and we went the opposite. We didn't give him any notes at all, so it's 4 hours. And it's just excessively Zack Snyder.
I know this might sound exhausting, but I think there is a better cut in there still. Like, I think I know that he's just basically going, I'll give you all of it now.
Agree.
Like I might as well just put all of it in there. But I think there is a good 3-hour version of this film.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
I agree. Like, now it's just like, you know what? I might not get the chance to ever do this again. So here's everything I want to do.
I get why he did it. I get why he wanted to do the 4-hour version. But I agree that, like, there's a difference between too many studio notes and no studio notes whatsoever. It seems like, I'm sure he talked to a lot of different people, but this seems like a film in which there was no other input from anybody, even though there were multiple editors.
I kind of love that.
Yeah, I don't understand what's the issue with that.
But admire the fact that this is just an act of tremendous passion and it's about Batman and Superman, which is very silly. And, I can't help but find it a bit funny that, Zack Snyder's got this myth, this obsession with myths and legends and gods, and he's treating these modern superheroes with that same,
that's what they are,
treatment.
though.
That's exactly, they are modern versions of that. But I do find it a little bit funny inherently. That doesn't take away from his voice. Like, I can't help but respect and admire the fact that he came back and did everything he possibly could with all the love and all the passion to make this exactly what he wanted it to be. And ultimately, I think it's the most I've ever enjoyed one of his films.
This is why he can put that level of energy in, and this is why the fans have this level of energy for it, because it's like I love all of the Marvel movies and all of that, but this is just legitly like a comic book, the whole thing, and he just gives you everything. And I just love that about it, that it's like there's parts where you're like, oh yeah, this could get cut out, this doesn't need to be here, yeah, this is maybe too much, or this is on the nose. But yeah, this is what we actually wanted. We wanted Zack Snyder's 100% vision of it, and this is it. Like, I mean, I said, I just think it's a win for the fans, for us.
But then,
I agree with that.
Is there any? This is the thing. Like, I agree. Like, it's exactly what fans wanted. But like, what about the rest of us?
Sure,
it's
this
optional
is the thing.
to watch. It's optional.
Yeah, but like, what? I don't really understand the point of spending $70 million on a movie that's only for like a very small group of people.
I think you said it in your written review, like, Clarice, I think you said, I don't know who this is for other than the people that demanded that it exist.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's true, but I didn't demand that it exist. I didn't fight specifically for it to exist, but I fight for this sort of stuff to exist because I think an art, and to see such passion for an artist's interpretation of something in this world, I think is incredible, especially because I agree, Joe, I'm a big fan of the Marvel stuff, but when I see a Marvel thing, I know that I'm going to see a Marvel movie. I don't think I'm going to see a particular director's interpretation within that world. They're not playing within that sandbox. The sandbox is the thing, and you just move the things around. Like, nobody gets to have their vision in a Marvel movie, whereas Zack Snyder got to have it. And I don't like his vision particularly. Like, I'm not a big fan of it, but I see it and I'm just like, I love that you got to do this, and I love that you got to do it on this scale with that much love behind you. I don't get why people like it, like him, so much, but I can't help but respect it.
But wouldn't it have been better if he had been allowed to do that? This is my frustration. It would have been better if he had just been allowed to do that in 2017.
Obviously.
I think that's the kind of like, that's
but I think
a
that's
thing
the
that
demonstration.
I can't help but take away from it.
But
is
like, can't we just let artists do their thing? Like, the thing you hiring them to do. I mean, it's the same with Suicide Squad. Sometimes I go back and watch that trailer that was released from Comic-Con all those years ago before they tonally changed it. And I'm like, I wanted to see that film.
Yeah,
I mean, genuinely wanted to see that.
That's the issue with WB as a whole. Do you know what I'm saying? I know, Clarice, you said before that why did they hire Zack Snyder to do it and then let him go? And I think it's because they're reacting to what's actually going on at current time with the backlash. People are now like, oh, we don't like Batman versus Superman, all of that, and they're like, oh, he's already started, we'll just replace him with the Avengers guy.
Yeah,
like, they're being reactive to that.
Well, now they've got James Gunn doing a Suicide Squad movie because they tried to rip off Guardians of the Galaxy. Just get the guy who did it.
Yeah, that's the big issue with them. And if they just let Zack Snyder run the whole thing or oversee the whole thing, like the whole universe, it will just be better. I know you guys might be like, no, we don't want that.
This
but
is it. You might not want to buy
better.
into that voice. Some people don't like Marvel. Like, some people just don't want to buy into that tone and that voice. This is my frustration with Zack Snyder's Justice League, is that I think there are moments in it, for example, spoilers everybody, I'm sure that you're not watching this if you haven't seen it, when the Flash turns back time, like, that moment for me was like, this is fucking cool. But I wish I felt something for it, because I think ultimately the biggest issue with this movie is it's a 4-hour version of something that could be shorter because we could have built up to it with individual movies. I wish we'd had a Flash movie. I wish we'd had a Cyborg movie. I wish we'd had an Aquaman movie that existed in the same universe that built up to this. Obviously, that's what they should have done.
I don't agree. Like, I
just think
every movie starts in the middle.
Any room to breathe or for you to really invest in who they are. I don't think I should be seeing a scene where the Flash saves somebody who, you know, I know that she's going to turn out or would have turned out to be his love, but I don't need to see that in this. I shouldn't be seeing that in this movie when it's not relevant to the rest of the film.
And he just ogles her, and it's weird because if you don't know the context that she's Iris West, it's like he's just staring at this woman as she flinks to her death.
Do you know what I mean?
But
like
the whole
that
Flash
stuff,
character as a whole
be in its
is
own
weird.
movie.
I get that, but at the same time, it's like if we was talking about a movie that didn't have superheroes and there was a guy who saved a girl and we just kept it moving, no one would have an issue. The issue is that it's the Flash. Like, and I don't think that should be an issue. Like the way Marvel's done it now, where they're sideline characters who have just been in the background for 4 movies and now getting fleshed out and doing their own thing, I think is very similar to that. Like, I don't think you need to follow Marvel's pattern. I like how they went Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League, and now if that branches off, the only issue is like making sure the right people are actually directing these movies and not trying to fit into that Marvel tone.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think that, you know, Marvel did that. They introduced Spider-Man in Civil War. They introduced Black Panther in Civil War, and then they sprung off into their own independent, because they were small parts in that movie as part of a whole. But then you got to know them better individually.
Yeah.
If you brought it, like, you know, Wonder Woman was brought in Batman vs Superman, and then she got her own movie, and I
which
still
both
think
suck.
I think the first Wonder Woman movie is
I like
some
both
of the
of them.
strongest stuff that they've done.
Yeah, of DC altogether.
In the most recent run, I think that the first Wonder Woman movie was one that I enjoyed as the whole the most.
I think Wonder Woman 1 is better than Wonder Woman 2, but I think Wonder Woman 2 is trash.
I agree. I know that Clarice doesn't agree.
It's fine.
But what I'm saying is that in this Justice League movie, it feels like Zack Snyder had to pack as much stuff in as he could, because there wasn't time to build up who these people were before this huge team-up.
I don't agree.
Movie.
I mean, in Batman vs Superman...
That's what I think is the ultimate flaw with it.
In Batman vs Superman, it's called Dawn of Justice. They've got the clips of Cyborg scene, which they then
but that's the worst thing about that movie is like, they've just found an MP4 file of these characters.
But they have all the little logos.
The execution of it is very bad.
And that doesn't feel like Snyder to me. That feels like someone has forced that into that movie.
But then, that might have been forced into the movie by the studios, but obviously that was still the plan he was working with going into making a Justice League movie. Whether it's his plan or not, it's in there. And that's the introduction of it, so I can understand why it's in Justice League. But for me, like, I don't mind it personally. I don't really like the Flash character in the movie at all. I would like to see a Cyborg movie, but at the same time, I do feel like I get a good feel of Cyborg in this movie, so I'm good to see where they go with it next.
Do you think that they're gonna restore the Snyderverse?
I really hope so. But I just don't see WB getting smart overnight. So I'm just unsure. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I mean, I think we're in a point now where multiple versions of things can kind of exist simultaneously. I wouldn't mind having Battinson and Batfleck. I wouldn't mind. No, I don't think you can have too much of that stuff right now.
Yeah, I don't understand
Pick your poison.
That you can't have multiple Batmans in films at the same. I don't even understand that concept. And DC they've got an option to make this how their actual comic book universe is, because in their comic book universe there are multiple Batmans, multiple Jokers. So you should be doing that across your film media anyway. Like, you've got a perfect excuse to have a Batman movie coming out every year with different Batmen. Like, it's actually mind blowing to me that someone's not sitting down telling these guys this, or why they don't think that can work.
Clarice, what is I just want to finish by talking about your experience with the fans of this stuff, because I think it's important for us to address it, because I'm in the corner of people fighting for the art that they want to see and an artist that they support, but they haven't all gone about it in a very nice way. I would say that some people have been bullies and also do the exact opposite of what Zack Snyder would want, especially under the circumstances in which he had to leave this project originally.
Well, you've hit the nail right on the head. Like, I wrote a negative review of it and got, harassed for half a week, and it was pretty unpleasant. Like, a bunch of unpleasant stuff was said towards me, even though I think, this is the thing with critics, I don't go out of my way to be mean to stuff. Like, I don't know Zack Snyder. I have nothing against him. gave what my opinion of the film was. And I think that behavior is really unfair to Zack Snyder, who's a guy who has always had such enthusiasm and passion for what he does. And I only hear great things from his cast and crew. Like, he seems to
love working with him.
Really good relationships with the people that he works with. And I just cannot imagine that, like, this guy would love seeing the stuff that's being tweeted, like, in his name. And I know it's not literally in his name, but, you know, and it's tough for me because, you know, I want to keep a really, like, good and optimistic view of Zack Snyder and the stuff that he does. But it's hard to feel like, yay, Snyder cut, when you open your Twitter account.
That's kind of the attitude I was going into it with as well. You know, the idea that I wasn't really looking forward to this because I've never been a massive fan of his stuff anyway, but also the noise that's been happening for the last 4 years has given me sort of a sour impression of it. But then knowing people like Joe, you must feel like these people don't represent me and my passions.
Yeah, I don't feel like if they're just dickheads, innit? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well said.
I mean, that's just what it is. Like, and I don't feel like this should dampen your feeling towards the artist. Like, it's, you know, it's so far removed. Like, we've already explained it. Like, it's so far removed from who he is and what he's trying to get out there. Like, we can't just, do you know what I'm saying? Like, hate on this because random fan in basement X said whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? That person's just got an issue. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
and they're not even the fans that the studios are listening to anyway.
No,
do you know what I'm saying?
But I think the thing that frustrates me is, like, it's not just like some random asshole. It's like there's something, and it's not just Snyder fans, it's Marvel fans, Star Wars fans, it's happening across all fandoms. There is this weird sort of like aggressiveness forming where people are like they've made the film their identity.
Yeah.
And so, like, by a person criticizing a film, and this is the thing, whenever I say I don't like a film, it's like, I am fully aware that it's a subjective opinion and that people will disagree with me, and like that makes and I'm not making a moral judgment on the kind of person who enjoys Zack Snyder's Justice League, however harsh I may be about it, and I really wasn't that harsh, but anyways. and this is the thing, it's like, if we need to remember that, like, these movies are not, the things that we love are not our identities. Like, there's a separation between the person and art. And when we're talking about art, we're just discussing ideas.
Totally.
And contrasting opinions are great and interesting. And it's like, instead of being angry because somebody criticized something you love, like,
listen.
Yeah, think about it, because it's
you may not have to. You don't have to agree.
But that's the thing. It's not about questioning the thing you love. I often find that when I read critical things of things I really enjoy, it only like makes me love the thing more, because I realize, oh, I really disagree because there are all these things. And it's like talking about Birds of Prey. It's like, I was listening to all the criticism. I was like, okay, I hear it, but this makes me love it more because it makes me realize.
How I feel about Tenet. You know?
Exactly. It makes you realize, like, oh, no, this is why this thing is so special to me.
And I just want to bring this to a close and just say that if you're passionate about something, that's great. If somebody else doesn't like the thing that you like, they're not trying to convince you that you're wrong. They just don't see things the way that you do, and that's okay. You don't have to be, this doesn't have to be an insecurity. You're allowed to like things, and no one is criticizing it and saying this is why you shouldn't like it.
I would say, like, I would have loved if the people, instead of the nasty stuff, just came and told me
a conversation
why they loved
with
it. I would have been so open.
Love a
and
conversation.
I've had really nice conversations with people who loved Justice League, and I just heard what their opinion was, and it was nice, and we appreciated the fact that we had different perspectives on it.
Yeah, I don't think the people who are harassing people will understand, like, can have that conversation, because they're blinded by just, you know what I'm saying, what they love and what they hate.
I have to hope that they can learn. I have to, because
it's like the Dark Knight. You have to battle for the soul of Gotham.
The soul of fandom is gone.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah, all right.
Joker wins that one.
Well, I think we can all agree that we should stop letting Jared Leto try and be the Joker. I think that's what we can all. Can we all agree on that, please?
I'm with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with it in the Snyderverse. The future version of it, yeah. The Suicide Squad version of it, no.
Okay, well, thank you very much for listening or watching this bonus episode of the Screen Test. If you enjoyed this, there's more. And we end up having chats with other people as well about some of the best films that have ever been made. So if you would like to listen to that or watch that, there'll be a link in the description. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to both of you. And I'll see you all soon.
See you guys later.
Bye.